You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro. Joining us today, Mr. Michael Borg. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today's Monday. Happens every week, right? Thanks for joining us, wherever you are. We're just glad to have you right here, right now. As you probably know, we do 2 live broadcasts every trading day. The first broadcast is our live training room. Now that's from about 9:20 a.m. Eastern to 11:30 a.m. Eastern. But that is reserved for our members only, and those who are taking the 1-week free trial. If you haven't taken the 1-week free trial, I encourage you to do so. Just go to mytradingiq.com, and at the top of the page you'll find a link that says 5-day free trial, no credit card required. You click the link, you'll get a registration form. Fill it out, make sure you tick all the boxes or whatever, because it's an automated process, and we want to make sure you get your free trial. And because it's an automated process, if you don't fill it out right, then we don't get it, you don't get your trial, and well, that's no fun, right? So just take a minute, get it right, hit submit, and typically on the same day we'll be in touch. We'll get your desktop set up, get your indicators indicating, and then your actual free trial will start the following day. Now, tomorrow's Tuesday, so you're probably thinking, well, gee, 5-day trial, but I'm only going to get 4 days. That's not true. The weekends don't count against you. We give you 5 consecutive trading days. So if you signed up today for the trial, your trial would start tomorrow. And then this coming weekend won't count against your trial, even though there are tradable markets over the weekend. And then you get next Monday. So see, no matter what day of the week or weekend you sign up for the trial, you'll get 5 consecutive trading days. Now, when the live training room ends each day at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, we take a 30-minute break, and then we come back for this broadcast, which is open to the public. Everybody, everywhere on planet Earth with an internet-connected device. There's a couple different ways to join this broadcast live. The best way, you only have to do this once. Go back to mytradingiq.com and scroll down the page to where it says afternoon broadcast. Click that link, and there's a really short registration form. Just fill that out, and not only will it get you in the same day, but every trading day going forward, what will happen is you'll get an email about an hour before this broadcast starts. Now, in that email, there's a link. So at 12 noon Eastern, all you have to do is click the link in the email, and it'll automatically log you into our platform. The benefit there is you'll be able to access the question box so you can ask questions and participate in the discussion. Of course, there'll be days when you're out of the office, away from the desktop, but you still want to join live. And there'll be days when you're busy and you can't join live, but you want to get caught up later. You can do both of those via our YouTube channel, youtube.com/CFRN. You've already got the YouTube part memorized, so really all you have to remember is the CFRN part. Not only do we broadcast live every trading day on our YouTube channel, as we're doing right now, we're simulcasting in 2 different places. But we also archive each and every daily broadcast. Currently, there are over 2,600 daily episodes archived for your educational and viewing pleasure. And if you're new to the world of CFRN, it's a really good way to get to know who we really are. Not just today, not just this week, but thanks to the power of YouTube, you can actually see how we've evolved over the years. You can scroll back 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, even more. Just pick some days at random. Watch a little bit, fast forward a little bit, watch a little more, jump to another day, another month, another year. Now, obviously, the more recent ones are going to be more relevant, but there's a total of 8 years of history and evolution archived for you on our YouTube channel. youtube.com/CFRN. All right, let's get rolling. Here's our schedule every day. We do our best to begin at 12 noon Eastern. I think we came pretty close today. Then we open with our daily devotional, quick word of prayer. Then we take a look at the numbers from around the world, and then I share a few news articles. Then I get into the Logic 247 and the Concierge Trade Alerts. I give you a recap of those. Then about 12:45, 12:50, Michael will join us and give us a recap of what happened in today's live training room. And then at the top of the hour, we'll go live on the TradingView platform and do some live trading for 30 minutes. And then I'll come back and I'll finish up the recap of the alerts if I haven't already, and wrap things up with our good word for the day. So with all that said, let's do it. Now, the topic of our devotion for the past 3 days and the next 4 days, I believe it is The Chosen Season 4. Today's scripture is Matthew 7, verses 7 through 11, and I'm going to share with you from the Message translation. Don't bargain with God. Be direct. Ask for what you need. This isn't a cat and mouse hide and seek game we're in. If your child asks for bread, do you trick him with sawdust? If he asks for fish, do you scare him with a live snake on his plate? As bad as you are, you wouldn't think of such a thing. You're at least decent to your own children. So don't you think the God who conceived you in love will be even better? Now, there's scripture that says Jesus will give you anything you want. That sounds like a stretch, doesn't it? Let me turn my fan down. It's bugging me, and we'll continue. Okay, that's much better. In life, we're taught to rank people according to who's best and worst, who's important and who isn't. And because of this, we often want higher status for ourselves whenever possible. So, Salome's instruction for James and John to get ahead of this world doesn't come as a surprise. And she supports it with a startling justification. And I quote, Jesus said, "You can ask him for anything, and he will give it to you. Just ask him." Now that's kind of hard to wrap your mind around, right? Because you've probably asked Jesus at some point in your life or something, and it never materialized. Well, don't forget that country song. One of God's greatest gifts is unanswered prayers. So, did Jesus actually mean that? We can ask for whatever we want, and just like that, it'll be ours. When you examine Jesus' claim in light of his other teachings, you'll see how Jesus qualifies and clarifies this idea. He's not saying, ask whatever and I'll do it. The context of his promise invites his disciples to reflect first and then ask, or don't. Because we now engage with Jesus' words as scripture, let's talk briefly about the study of the Bible. It needs to be interpreted carefully, according to its design. It's always better to use things as their designers intended. Imagine using a cell phone to chop down a tree. Probably not the best idea. Similarly, using the Bible to make claims based on a surface level reading of single sentences also doesn't work well. The Bible is ancient meditation literature, which means it lacks detail modern readers may expect, and it can be ambiguous. Its authors want readers to consider things like context and literary themes and patterns woven throughout the whole Bible. It's designed for thoughtful learning with others. We aren't meant to read and reread, contemplate, and practice our interpretation over time with the goal of developing wisdom. I'm sorry, we are meant, I misspoke, we are meant to read and reread, contemplate, and practice our interpretation over time with the goal of developing wisdom. Salome and her sons make an unwise request, and Jesus responds, "You don't know what you're asking." Real honor and power, Jesus teaches elsewhere, will come from learning to forgive, bless, and generously care for others according to his love. God lifts up the humble, and he humbles the proud. Had Salome and her sons meditated on all of Jesus' words in order to understand his wisdom, their request would have changed. When we interpret Jesus' words or any part of the Bible, it's helpful to remember we're engaging with meditation literature. Then we just might avoid the mistake of Salome and her sons. Join me in a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you today for the promise that when we ask, seek, and knock, you'll answer, reveal, and open the doors for us. We trust in your goodness, knowing that as a loving Father, you give good gifts to your children. Help us to approach you with confidence and faith, believing that you will provide what we need according to your perfect will. Guide us to always seek your presence and wisdom in our lives. And today we invite your presence into this broadcast and the lives of each person tuning in. It's in Jesus' name we believe and pray. And everybody said, Amen. Amen. And a happy Monday. Let me give you the numbers from around the world. We'll start off with the cash markets, or the indices as they're called here in the U.S. Currently the Dow is down 81 points. The Nasdaq is up 27. S&P 500 is down 3. And the Russell 2000, our man in the street, is up 10 points. Some pretty quiet sideways trade. In the commodity basket, crude oil, on the other hand, is down 81 cents, trading 82.35 last. That's a drop of almost 1%. Gold is down $38.40, trading 23.59.30 last. That's a drop of over 1.5%. Silver down 90 cents, trading 30.79 last. That's a drop of almost 3%. And let me remind you that when the price of silver moves $1, that's worth $5,000 per contract traded. And we're currently down 87 cents on the session. In the Asian markets at the close, the Nikkei dropped 131 points. Shanghai dropped 27, and for the Shanghai, that is almost 1%. The Hang Seng fell 275 points. That's a little over 1.5%. And in the European markets at the close, FTSE down 10, the DAX down 3, the CAC down 48. So that gave us a red day in Asia. It was a red day for the UK. At the moment, though, it is a mixed Radio Monday here in the US of A. As futures traders, we like to see all four of the major indices the same color. We don't care if they're all four red or all four green, because with futures you can be long, short, long again, all in the same hour. That's what the chart tells you to do. But when the markets are mixed as they are today, there's kind of a tug of war going on, and you don't get the follow through you would expect. I know I experienced that twice today. But hey, that's the truth about trading. So The Dow is in the red by 73 points, which the Dow could recover that in 5 minutes. The S&P is down 2.5 points. Again, that could change in 5 minutes. The NASDAQ is up 20 points, 21 points. That could change in about 2 minutes. The Russell 2000, on the other hand, is positive by 10 points. And it's not so easily moved. So, we trade what's in front of us, right? Okay. So let's take a peek at these news articles. A reading on inflation and the start of second quarter earnings reports will greet investors after a holiday-shortened week that saw stocks close near record highs. With job growth slowing, investors will be closely watching the release of June's Consumer Price Index, or CPI, on Thursday, as the case builds that the Federal Reserve could be set to cut interest rates in September. Semi-annual testimony from Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell before the Senate Banking Committee tomorrow and the House Financial Services Committee on Wednesday will also be a key focus for investors and traders, because when Jerome speaks, the markets can do all kinds of things. Boeing has decided to plead guilty to criminal fraud conspiracy in a Justice Department agreement that brands the aviation giant as a corporate felon, but could resolve a big legal headache as Boeing tries to convince customers and investors that it has its problems under control. The charge and plea deal, described by U.S. prosecutors in a court document Sunday, relates to actions taken by Boeing to mislead FAA regulators before the two 737 MAX fatal crashes at the end of last decade. Boeing will have to pay fines of up to $487.2 million, although a judge will rule on the final amount. The Justice Department asked that Boeing be credited for fines already paid, which means the new amount could be $243.6 million. Now, this is nothing official. This is just a word I heard on the street. But the insiders at the top of Boeing, the ones that haven't left, are blaming these problems on DEI. In other words, engineers, mechanics, etc., were hired not based on their skill level, but they were hired because they were mandated by the federal government to meet a quota of hiring a certain number of people of a particular sex, or a multi-sex person, or a woman over a man. Now, I know a lot of women that are a lot smarter than a lot of men I know, and I know people of color that are a whole lot smarter than some of us old white guys. Okay, so I'm not passing any judgment here. What I am saying is that I believe when it comes to something important like all these lives that were lost, the most talented person should be hired to fill the position, despite their sex, despite their skin color. If they're a Martian from Mars and they're the most talented, they should get the job, because lives are on the line. Now, do I believe in equality in the marketplace and all that kind of stuff, or in the business world? Of course I do. Now, the statements I just made will send a lot of people screaming racist. Well, I'm sorry, but I didn't mean it in that way. I just meant that jobs should be given based on merit and nothing else. The most qualified person should get the job, period. The U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs and a U.S. agency that provides news overseas are among a growing list of Microsoft Corp customers that have acknowledged they were impacted by a breach of the technology giant that was blamed on Russian state-sponsored hackers. The U.S. Agency for Global Media, an independent federal agency that provides news and information in countries where the press is restricted, were notified a couple months ago by Microsoft that some of its data may have been stolen. No security or personally identifiable sensitive data was compromised, according to Microsoft. The agency is working closely with the Department of Homeland Security on the incident, and the spokesperson who gave us this information declined to answer any questions. The International Monetary Fund, or the IMF, is set to discuss a review of the fees it charges its biggest borrowers after some nations raise concerns that costs are becoming unreasonable due to higher interest rates. The IMF board, made up of a management official and 24 members representing the Washington-based crisis lenders 190 countries, is set today to weigh options to give nations a break on surcharges, according to people familiar with the plans, who ask not to be identified without permission to speak publicly. The fees apply to nations that borrow more than their allotted share or take longer to repay loans under IMF programs. Now, the article goes on, but I'm not. But I'm going to ask you a question. In the last weeks, months, year, have you been forced to use your credit card to pay for groceries, for gas, a doctor's appointment, the medicine that you need to live? Who's going to bail you out? I don't have the answer. U.S. stocks are likely to get more expensive this year, according to a Wall Street analyst. But that isn't likely to stop the S&P 500 from adding to its recent run of all-time highs as earnings improve and the Federal Reserve ends its longest interest rate hike hold on record. The S&P 500 has printed 34 all-time highs this year, taking its 2024 gain to just over 17%. The moves come on the back of stronger than expected corporate earnings, a robust domestic economy, and outsized gains for mega cap stocks such as Nvidia, Meta, Alphabet, you know the others. Now, this is a very fragile situation. While it looks incredibly bullish, the whole market that drives the economy is riding on the back of 7 companies. That makes me very uncomfortable. And it makes me glad I trade futures, because I can just trade what's in front of me and be done for the day. Okay. With all that said, We'll jump to a less than stellar report of Logic 247. We're in week 310. Over the last 310 weeks, we've issued over 17,000 individual handcrafted alerts. What we've averaged on a weekly basis is 20% or less of the alerts being stopped out based on market structure and a very simple process that I teach all of our members in their one-on-one private mentoring sessions. At the time the recap was done this morning, 7:35 a.m. Eastern, and I think we're going to cut the recaps back to once a day. A total of 14 alerts have been issued. I haven't issued any today yet. Still waiting on the outcome of 10 at this time. Possibly some of these have resolved themselves already. We had 4 actionable alerts, and so far nothing stopped out. But it's early in the week, so we'll see where we stand at the end of the week. Last week, what did we end up with last week? That's a great question, right? Let me see if I can take a quick peek. There was a recap that came out Friday afternoon at 3:30 p.m. Eastern that said there were 63 total alerts issued, 3 never triggered, 46 actionable, 7 stopped out, which is 15% of the actionable alerts. So, in keeping with that average we've had for all these weeks, what did I say, 309 weeks? I'm sorry, we're now on week 310, over 17,000 individual handcrafted alerts over those 310 weeks. And while the average is 20% or less on a weekly basis, today we're sitting at 0%, but that will change by the time we get the next recap. Okay. Now, the logic alerts are designed to help you learn how to read the chart. When you go to school as a young kid, first thing you have to do is learn how to read before you can learn anything else. You've got all these textbooks, and if your parents haven't taught you how to read for kindergarten or first grade, then it just looks like gibberish on the page. If you opened a Russian newspaper or a Japanese newspaper, that would probably look like gibberish unless you spoke that language. Just as if a Russian or a Japanese person opened an English newspaper, it might look like gibberish to them unless they spoke English. Well, you see, the financial markets has its own language, and it's not displayed in words and sentences and paragraphs. It's displayed in candles or bars. And price. No matter what market you trade, no matter what time frame you trade, the clock on the wall is always price. So, the logic alerts are designed to help you understand how to read that chart. The logic alerts give you an entry price, an initial target designed to help you get your goal for the day, then often a second, third, fourth, fifth target, and then a final trade to target. What I recommend that you do is when the logic alerts come out, even if you don't trade that market, go to the 30-minute chart. That's where all alerts are created, on the 30-minute chart. Draw a horizontal line at the entry price. Draw a horizontal line at the initial target. Then draw a horizontal line at any additional targets. and look left. And after a couple weeks, I think you'll start to see that you too can read the chart. If not, I failed you. And I'll try to do better. Once you master those logic alerts, then we have our original alert service, which is far older than the logic alerts. The CTAs are published as a static report shortly after the Globex Open. Yes, today's the Monday session, but it started last night at 6 p.m. Eastern. Just like the Tuesday session will start tonight, Monday night, at 6 p.m. Eastern. Now, the logic alerts can come out anytime around the clock, 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. as opportunity presents. The CTAs are published as a static report, so you only get this report once per session. I cover all these markets. So every one of our members and trial members had these targets 10 minutes after the open last night. Now, the first thing you do when the report comes out is go to the 30-minute chart of the markets that you actually trade. It's always going to be between these two numbers. Then draw a line in the sand at the long target and a line in the sand at the short target. Those will serve as great visual cues to help you stay on the right side of the street. If price gets above the 30-minute BBC, it's attempting to reach the long target. If price gets below the 30-minute BBC, it's attempting to reach the short target. Now, the BBC is simply that green line you see on all my charts, no matter what the time frame. Really, all you see me show is the daily and the 30-minute. Okay, I go to the daily to gather information, and then I go to the 30-minute chart as my roadmap to find windows of opportunity. BBC stands for bull, bear, cross. If price crosses above the green line, we're bullish and anticipate higher prices. If price crosses below the green line, we're bearish and anticipate lower prices. Always relative to whatever time frame you apply it to. But for the purpose of the alerts, it's always the 30-minute chart. Now, this is where you use what you learned with the logic alerts to start looking left yourself to spot previous swing highs and swing lows that can become obstacles or targets, whatever you want to call them. And you learn how price behaves at a weekly trading zone. That's important because price is always trying to reach a weekly trading zone. From the moment the markets open Sunday night till they close Friday afternoon, if price is above the 30-minute BBC, it's trying to get to the zone overhead. If price is below the 30-minute BBC, it's trying to get to the zone below. We've published the zones for our members every week since December 14th of 2009. So we're closing in on 15 years. They come out Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. And once they're published, they're carved in stone for the entire week. They do not change in any way whatsoever. Once you understand how price behaves around a zone and is attracted to zones, they will become one of the most important tools in your trading toolbox. Just resist the urge to complicate things. As long as you know which way the wind is blowing, it's pretty simple to reach your goal for the day. Again, all members and trial members had all these targets 10 minutes after the open. So let us go to the daily chart. Michael will be joining us shortly, so I don't know how far I'll get. but I will complete it once Michael's done. As you can see, we have put in a new all-time historic high since we opened last night. That new high is, come on, 56.37 half. 56.37 half. Okay, I got it to 56.37 and a quarter, so we're just one tick off. Okay, now you can see that we're well off the high of the session, but a most interesting thing has happened. Price consolidated for 8 trading days, and instead of price dropping to the BBC, see how price always reverts to the mean? And the pullback holds more often than not. But because the market consolidated with the 62% fib extension as support for 8 trading days, the BBC rose to meet price. Typically, price will go to the BBC. Price will go to the BBC. This time, the BBC came to price. It's a whole different dynamic. And we know that when the step line crosses blue and climbing, that means price is going to attempt to pull back to the BBC. Well, hopefully you can see and understand the difference. And while I expected a collapse, the truth about trading is the market had other ideas. And the market's always right. So the black step line has now crossed back to the left side of blue and climbing. See over here how we had price, step line, blue and climbing, all the way up until we crossed. See the step line cross there? But price really could never get, it never really closed below that 62% fib extension. Price rose, it became support, or the BBC rose, it became support. And now the next major obstacle, because if you look left, you won't see anything, because price has never traded above this high right here before on the S&P. So the next major obstacle would be the 100% fib extension up at 56.71. Of course, we have weekly trading zones in between there. Now the reason we're looking at a daily chart, institutional traders, the ones who trade in such immense size that they actually move price, they look at daily, weekly, and monthly charts the way you and I look at 30-minute charts, 5-minute charts, tick charts, and range charts. Again, it has to do with account size. So, I encourage you, no matter what you trade, maybe it's a different futures market, maybe it's individual stocks, maybe it's crypto, Forex, ETFs, whatever it is. If you'll train yourself to spend 2 minutes with the daily chart before you drop to the smaller time frames and actually begin trading, I think you'll find that your overall results will become better over time, because you're literally looking over the shoulder of the deep pockets that move price. So from the open last night at 56.12, we ran all the way up to 37.5, but now we've backed off. We've dropped a little bit below the high of Friday. We've got major support at the step line, at blue and climbing, and then the daily BBC. So while we did put in a new high, it didn't stick. We're now back below Friday's high. But buyers haven't given up. I think we saw some profit taking, but we'll revisit this chart before the end of the broadcast. As I said, all alerts are based on the 30-minute chart. Now, these are last week's zones because every alert issued on Sunday night is based on last week's zones, because the new zones don't come out till Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. So any alert I issue today will be based on this week's zones. Tomorrow on the broadcast, you will see this week's zones on my chart. But again, on Sunday night, all alerts issued are based on the previous week's zones. So this was the opening candle last night right here at 6 p.m. Eastern. Price dropped to the BBC and the zone. That's support times 2. First we dropped to the zone, and then we bounced back up to the step line, which was resistance. And that resistance sent us to support. That's how it always works. From support to resistance, back to support, back to resistance. Every market, every time frame. So we pulled back into support, and we got a bounce. It got us just above red and falling, but we weren't able to take out these highs right here. So resistance sent us once again back to support. Support then sent us looking for resistance. So we got a leg, a retracement into blue and climbing, and then that leg that took us to the new all-time historic high. Again, if you look left, there is nothing there. This price has never traded this high before. Price has now dropped. Price always reverts to the mean. In our case, the mean is green, and as I explained, it's called the BBC. Bullish above it, bearish below it. It's been a long time since we've been below it. Oh, we were for a minute here. But as you can see, leg, retrace, leg, retrace. Now we've retraced to the BBC, and we have red and falling overhead. So if price drops below the low of this candle, say 56.16, then a nice trading opportunity would do this bullish cross right here, which is about 56.14. Okay, whenever you have a bullish cross that leads to an extended move, the first time price revisits that area, it will almost always be good support. Okay. Now, there was never any reason to think about the short target because we never got below this zone. And when price drops to a zone, we expect support. When price rallies up to a zone, we expect resistance. 70% of the time, when price encounters a zone, you're going to get consolidation. 20% of the time, you'll get rejection. And 10% of the time, the slice. On the Dow, here's where we opened last night. We did get below the BBC. We had red and falling. And we did drop enough to get your goal for the day, but not far enough to hit the short target. Buyers came in, got us above the BBC. Red and falling turned to blue and climbing. And then we made a beeline right to the target. I think to the tick. Almost. 3 ticks off. So we got a leg, a retracement, and then a rocket ship leg. And we still had another zone up overhead, but the market found support here. Or resistance, I'm sorry. Resistance will always send the market looking for support. And you see this bullish cross right here? Yes, we spiked it, but the market found support there. So if you were in this trade short coming down, you should be expecting support there. Now, price looks like it wants to rally back up to the BBC, but I don't know that it will. Because we got red and falling overhead. Okay, we made it to the Dow. When I come back, we'll talk our way through the Russell and what happened. But Michael is now going to give us a recap of what happened in the live training room this morning. And then we'll go live on TradingView and do some live trading for 30 minutes. And as I said before, I'll come back. I'll finish the recap of the alerts. And I'll wrap things up with our good word for the day.
Excellent.
Okay, looks good.
Yeah. Great. All right. All right. So here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Monday, the 8th day of July, 2024. Thankful to have a full week. I think having a full week. I like a day off every now and then, but it's a full week. It's good. Anyway, today is the 8th day of July, 2024. If you've not taken a free trial with us, go here to mytradingiq.com. Click on this purple button right here. Purple button. When you click on that, you can be brought to this registration page. Should be this registration page. And fill out this little form. Once you fill out this form, all the way ask for your name, your email, and your phone number. Down here at the bottom. If you have Ninja Trader, give us your machine ID, not your Ninja ID, your machine ID. And if you have TradingView, give us your login ID, not your email, your login ID. Hit the register button, and you'll be able to start your trial with indicators. All right. All right. So today we started out strong, and we gave it back, and then we got it back, and we ended up double with what we had when we got the goal for the day. So it's okay. But if you're going to read the spreadsheet, you have to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today's the 8th day of July, 2024. We lost 20 on the NQ, we made 22 on the Russell, and 42 on the YM. We didn't trade the ES this morning. This morning when we got our goal for the day, it took us 7 minutes and 2 trades to get to $2,090. That is $110 per contract. We're at 19 contracts now. We ended up taking 14 more trades, and we ended up getting double what we had at that point, but it took us 14 more trades to get there. Anyway, $220 is what we ended the morning session with. All right, 16 trades, and on the month now we're $1,140 over 5 business days, averaging $228 per contract per 2-hour business day. On the year, we're at $48,225 over 125 business days, averaging $385 per contract per 2-hour business day. Now, following the 24/20 blueprint, which I am almost done with, I was hoping this number would be 7 figures by the end, but it's not. It's going to be really close, I think, but we'll see. We'll see how we go over the next month and a half here. This is the total in the room, so I gotta, these numbers over here at the end of the day have to be big numbers, not just when I get the goal for the day. These numbers, it's important that that's big when we get the goal for the day, because the bigger this number is and the smaller this number is, the bigger this number is going to be down here. If you were to quit trading when you get your goal for the day and add 1 contract per month, so far this year, you'd be on your 7th contract. You'd be averaging $1,408 per hour if you did it just like me. You would have only had to work 44.16 hours. And if you really started just like me in January of last year, you'd be in your 19th contract now, and you'd be averaging $6,302 per hour. Okay, that is good stuff. Now, this you just gotta follow the plan. 24/20 blueprint. You earn $2,000 a contract, you can add another contract, and just keep trading and doing what works over and over and over again. All right, speaking of what works, let's get into the actual trades. We had a huge move down here, Russell. Now, when this all started, right in here, I was wondering if it was going to pull back up and hit the ribbon back in here, and it didn't. It just kept going, and it got down to the midpoint, and it just kept going. It got down to the weekly trading zone, and it just kept going. It got down to the midpoint, and kept going and going. Where is the bottom on this? Now, we talked about this earlier at the end of the session this morning. Dwayne and I were talking about this and what the upcoming things we have going on this week should bring. This is the ES. Now I had drawn this price action right here. I was saying this morning that I think by the end of the week, after the CPI and PPI come out, we could be right up here. I was also saying that with the Fed having two meetings coming up here, one tomorrow and one Wednesday, before the CPI and PPI, prepping everybody for the inflation and all the numbers, that this is probably going to get way down here to the weekly trading zone, is what I was thinking. And then by the end of the week, probably be back up here somewhere, is what I was thinking. Now, I don't know what it's going to do, but I was saying this morning you could play both sides of it if you wanted to. That was just my thought. Anyway, got a little sideways there. I haven't even told you what the trades were. On the YM, we started out. Let's go back to the beginning here. Sorry, I really got sideways here, didn't I? Let's go back to the very beginning. Here on the YM, we started out with 12 ticks there. Then we had another 10 there that got us to 22. Then we had another 4 that got us to 26. Then we had 6 that got us to 32. And then 10 more that got us to 42. And that's where we ended up with the YM. The YM was doing really well. It was trending well. It was giving good indications with the arrows most of the time. There's one green one there that didn't work out, but most of them did work out pretty well. The black arrows, you know, the logic that I gave you guys last week about pulling back near the ribbon and then waiting for a deeper pullback on the black arrow, that stuff was working out pretty well most of the time today. But if you just took the blue arrows, the blue arrow right there worked out. And if you quit when you hit your goal for the day, then you wouldn't have had this stop out right over here. You would have had this nice win and not that stop out. I don't know what the rest of the blue arrows looked like though. That was okay there. That's a win. That's a win. That was in the pre-market. It would have been a stop out. So overall, the stuff that happened during the market was good. And that's the YM. The Russell now. We had the Russell. Between the Russell and the YM is where we got our goal for the day, the first two trades. But on the Russell, we started out here. Here on the Russell was our first trade. And we picked up 10 ticks on that one. Why does it seem so big? We picked up 10 ticks on that one. We had a break even on this, and we had 2 ticks on something else. Looks like the next trade we took on the Russell, we had 2 ticks, and then we had a 10 tick trade, and I didn't mark either one of those. But I did mark the break even. But I know we had the first trade where we had 10 ticks, and then we had a 2 tick, and then we had another 10 tick. I don't know where they all were, but they're in there somewhere. And that was how we did with the Russell. So during the break, let's see here. During the break, we had nothing. And as far as I know, there's no news events to really push the markets around the rest of today and even tomorrow for the most part. The ES we didn't do anything with. You can see the whole ES right here in one screen. We didn't do anything with the ES today. And the NQ now. The NQ. Let's see. The NQ going all the way back here to the beginning. All right. Our first trade on the NQ was not a stop out, was it? Yeah, it was. Our very first trade right here on the NQ was a stop out. Now I should have had my stop at break even on that, I think, but it happened so quick. I ended up stopping out on that. Then the next trade here we had, was that our very first? Yeah, we had a break even there, then a break even there, then another stop out here. This one I had no chance on. So I was at -4 after that, then another break even there. So I had 3 break evens, 2 stop outs. So the NQ was whooping me. Another break even, and then finally in here I got 20 ticks profit on that, and that put me at -20. Sorry, -20 at that point. Now this trade right here was a pullback to hit the ribbon right there. When this didn't give us an arrow, I was talking about how I thought this one here could pull back and hit the ribbon as long as it didn't hit the black line, and the ribbon would still be a valid trade because we weren't coming out of the oversold here. So we weren't going to get any kind of an arrow because we weren't coming out of the oversold. But if it did hit the ribbon and it did not hit the black line, it's still a valid trade. That's what I was saying this morning, just so you all understand. And going forward here, we had a blue arrow there that worked out okay, and that was it on the NQ. And that was our whole morning. It was well, But I managed to get a bunch of trades in. I guess we've had slower mornings in this, but I suspect things are slowing down even more right now. This CPI and PPI stuff that's coming out at the end of the week is important, really important. And I have a feeling that the Fed's going to try to temper the market, maybe push it down a little bit before it comes out. And then, we've been talking about this for the past week or so, how the news now seems like it's more real. The numbers, when you look at the news events in here, they don't seem like they're made up numbers anymore. They seem like they're giving you the real information. We'll go back to last week, where you get a whole bunch of red numbers, or before those, somehow they would all be green. All these numbers would all be green somehow, where now they're actually showing red numbers everywhere where they should be. And there's a reason behind that. I'm sure there is a reason behind that. I suspect it's a conspiracy theory. I suspect there's a reason behind that. But who knows? We'll see. Anyway, it is time to get into the live trading portion of this. So if you have not taken a free trial with us, go here to mytradingiq.com. Click on the purple button right here. And that will bring you to this registration page. All right, there's no credit card required for the trial. Give us all this information. It's just a little bit. It takes like 30 seconds maybe to fill out this form, if you know what these things are. 30 seconds. If you don't know what these things are, you got to go get them, copy them, paste them. But 30 seconds to fill out that form and get your trial started. Simple. All right. What to trade? The Russell is the closest thing we have to a trade setup here. We had a blue arrow here that's not worked out. And we have the Russell that's testing the ribbon right here. It's a low here of 9.7. So right now, from 9.7, you would be buying 8.5. Right? Is that right? I'm sorry, 0.5. 0.5 be like this. Now it's gone down some, so the low is now 0.5 plus 8, 3.3. Now it's gone down some more. Now it's hit the black line, so it's not a guaranteed trade anymore. Okay, now it's not a guaranteed trade. It's got to come out of the oversold. Now goes the green arrow. So I'm going to cancel it because nothing else seems to be going up right here. So I'm going to cancel it for right now. And we'll just give it a minute and we'll see what happens. All right, 8.9. 8.8. You're not going to have a trade there. We're not going to have a trade on any of this. All right, so let's go look at something else. Let's go look over here for a minute. See how this is doing right now. This is Tesla. Now, the last time we looked at Tesla, it had given us this long trade back here this morning. And given us that long trade and a great run up, and it's selling off right now. Now, in the scheme of things, everything that we do works on all the markets, right? So in the scheme of things, this is our leg up right here, right? That's our leg up. So how far do we expect that to retrace? How far do we want it to retrace? Right here, 50%. So in the scheme of things, this is all coming together perfectly. All right, it made the first move up to the 50%. Of course, you didn't know that this was the full move at that point. Pulled back, then bounced off it. Doubled this move right there. That was pulling back perfectly to right here. So for those of you guys who trade options, right in here, if you had any kind of a long indication from here with anything that you use, this right here, 252, if you want to buy some like 250, 258 calls, 0DT, 258 calls, 255 calls, 253 calls, anything like that right here, right near the money, I would bet that those would do well here over the next half hour. Just a thought. Since nothing else is giving us anything, I will give you guys some more thought over here. This is what should happen. right there. It should get a bounce right there. That's just completely price action trading. Okay, if you had any reason to go long in there, then I'd go looking for the call options. Let me go see what they are right now. I don't have that account open right now, but let me open it up and go see what the call options are worth over there right now. Hold on. Since nothing else is giving us any trades right here. We almost have a trade coming up on the YM, but we don't yet. Okay, let me go out here to my Schwab account. Here it is. Go on that one. That one. And text me, I guess. Text me that number. It's the only valid one left. And should be texting me a security code. There it is. Okay, so Tesla is what I'm looking at. Tesla options. Let's go to chains. That's what I want. Okay, let's just do calls. And what's today? The 8th. Okay, so I guess the 12th is what we're going to have to look at. And these are the numbers. Hang on. These are the numbers right here. Okay, so if you had any reason to go long from right in this area right here, we're looking at 252. I would say maybe these are July 12th, 4 days out, 4 days out calls. I would say look at something like, you could look at the 252 halves, but I think the 255 is going to be the things right there. So let me circle those. And these right here, a little more open interest. Oh, look at that. No, it is now 107. So if you had any reason to go long here, then that's what I'd be looking at. If I had any reason to go long, and I don't yet. Now, while I was doing that, we missed the YM short that just triggered. But there's no reason to go long over there yet. Okay. The YM short was a nice one there. That blue arrow, we want to see it put in a lower swing. The NQ is just about good a trade over here. It's kind of a ribbon trade that's triggering right there, but not quite. Let me see. Did anybody ask any questions yet? I don't see any questions coming up in here. Okay, so we just about have a lower swing over here on the YM short. There it is. It just put one tick lower swing in. Now, being that the YM's been going opposite everything else today, it would make sense for the NQ to give us a bounce up right here. Now, we're not coming out of the oversold. You could take the ribbon long right here if you wanted to. That is bounce off the ribbon. I'm going to take that here. I'm taking the ribbon long right here. Right, that's a bounce off the ribbon. It should get up above this level right here, right now, from what the DOM is suggesting. And that would be enough to get my stop to break even. And I'm going to manually drop it at break even. Oops, I meant to drop it at break even. Never mind. I end up dropping it at break even. But that should move up. Now the YM is giving us a good move down here. It's got a nice leg. Now, leg lengths are in Wednesday's lesson plan. And leg lengths, what I just showed you there a second ago on the Tesla. But here's your leg length, right? Let's just grab this one right here. Use that for our leg length, and then we'll repeat it. right here, and repeat it again right here. Exceeded it even a little bit. So now let's look at the pullback on this, right? Or even let's look at this. Let's look at the 50% retracement of this move down for our pullback. That should put us right in the middle of the ribbon. Right at the bottom of the ribbon. The 50% is right here. Sorry, I was not even close. 50% is right here. So 50% of that leg is going to put you right here, right? I don't know. I'd want a deeper pullback than that. Remove that. I want a deeper pullback than that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. The NQ trade is working out over here. That one that I just took a break even on is working out. Tesla still doesn't have a reason to go long yet. Okay, no, I don't know what range bar I was on that. Go back and look. Back out here, what was this? 100 range. Okay, it still doesn't have a reason to go long. So those options are getting cheaper and cheaper right now. You got to have a reason to go long there. It doesn't have that yet. So the NQ did put in a higher swing, the YM did put in a lower swing, and everything else is kind of sideways. We can't do anything with. Right? So I want to see this pull back up and test the ribbon right up here. Pull back up and test the ribbon up there. And I want to see this drop down and test the ribbon down here. Hasn't done that yet. All right, now this is one of those black arrows that I was telling you about the other day. If you get a pullback on this black arrow to like right here, that'd be pretty appealing to me. Okay. We didn't get it, so I'm just gonna let it go and wait. The Tesla could be coming around to giving us a reason to start looking now. Almost there. And we don't have a higher swing here yet, but we don't really need one. We did get a higher swing from this blue arrow back here, so that's all we need over there. Waiting. Still not there. It's 100 range bars, so it's got to go from down here, 251, all the way up above 252. Looks like. All right. What time is it? It's 1:14. 16 minutes left. Good stuff. looking. This did put in a higher swing, so now we're looking for a pullback on it. Right, over here on the YM, we have a lower swing, looking for the pullback on that. On the Russell, we needed to hit the ribbon because we changed directions. The ES is still giving us absolutely nothing. So that's what we have going on. Okay. And I don't think Tesla's going to go yet. It was running pretty strong earlier, but it's not looking real strong right now. Here we are. Possibly another trade over here on the indicator. Now, we're not coming out of the oversold, but we are hitting the ribbon. So we're not going to get any kind of an arrow if we got it up close now. Right, as long as it doesn't hit the black line. There, it hit the black line. Okay, so now that it's hit the black line and it's gotten into the oversold, we have a possibility for a green arrow. I don't really like it anymore, though. It's pulled back too deep. It's lost all its momentum on the upside. You guys understand that, right? That pullback beyond this swing low right here. So even a green arrow right now on an up close, if it happened to trigger a green arrow on an up close, would not be my favorite kind of trade. Right here, the leg length up was not great. Didn't show any real strength. And the leg length back showed strength on the pullback. So weakness on the move up and strength on the pullback. You see that? As opposed to the YM over here that showed strength on the move down and weakness on the pullback. Does that make sense to you all? I mean, the market's actually telling you what's going on as it's happening right here in front of you. All these leg lengths and everything like that, that explains the market to you. I mean, the fact that we use range bars, that's primarily why we use range bars, so you have real price action showing you what's going on. You know, if you put all this on a minute bar, or even if you put it on the 30-minute bar, all these things are going to get captured up. All these bars right here will get captured up, and you have no idea what's going on. Right? This is all that stuff right there. You have no idea what's going on inside that bar. But we go back here to our 15 range, and now you know what it's trying to do. It's trying to turn around, it's trying to push down. So within that bar, right now, you're at the midpoint of that bar, and you can see that it's turning around within that bar and trying to push down, or considering pushing down. See, but when you go to the 30-minute, all you know is that you're inside this bar. You're a little bit above where it opened. That's all you know. You know that this bar has 11 minutes and 32 seconds left to it, and it's going to close somewhere. That's all you know. Right now, you could be thinking, okay, well, it's getting above the midpoint. It's getting above the open. It looks bullish. But when you break it down like this, it's not bullish at all. Once it loads back up, that's not bullish at all. That's a 7 range. We're looking at the 15 range. Sorry. This isn't bullish at all. Does that make sense to you? All right, back over here on the YM now. We pulled all the way back up and tested ribbon. 617 down to 609 is what you'd be selling on that. 617 down to 609. Now, if we look at this, we'll go to the 30-minute on this from the 7 range. This looks bearish right here on the 30 range. The fact that it went all the way down here to the midpoint and bounced off the midpoint right there, that's kind of a significant thing. Look what happened the last time it bounced off the midpoint. But it bounced off the midpoint right here, and that is not a bullish candle. But if you break that down, where do you enter on that candle? You had one entry right here, right? And you have another entry coming up right here. And what would you expect? Would you expect it to go down to the midpoint again, at least? Right? All right. Tesla's still not doing it. It's going down, not up. So call options still not a thing yet. And they're getting cheaper right now. I would bet if I go back out there and look at that, the same call options that I highlighted a few minutes ago. Where's my picture? Here it is. So a few minutes ago, I was looking at the 255s. Here they are. They were 585 by 595. And the 255s right now, they're still 585 by 595. Okay, so they haven't changed yet.
My stock whisperer tells me Tesla's circling the drain.
Yeah, well, that's a whisperer that's looking a lot longer term than I am.
Yeah, they are looking very long term.
Yes. All right, so we did get the trade over here on the YM. Finally, got the down close right in there. It did move down 4 ticks into profit, so you stopped should have gone to break even if you were paying attention. And you should have had a good entry there on the green arrow at 617 if you were paying attention. I, however, wasn't paying attention, so I didn't move my stop to break even. So I'm still in it. 617. All right, now I can move my stop to break even whenever I feel like it, but I think it's going to go down to the midpoint again. Right. So if I stop out on this, it's on me. I should have had my stop at break even already. And I'm holding my finger on it right now, so I could drop it at any time, and it would take me out of the trade. But we'll see what happens here. I think it's going to go back down to the midpoint. Those first two words right there are the ones that get people in trouble, even me, especially me. I think. Follow the rules. See, I'm not following the rules right now because I should have been out of break even right here. And when I had 2 chances to go to break even a minute ago, I should have taken them. It's going to stop me out. I'm going to pay the price because I said I think. I didn't do what I should have done. That's frustrating. I'll have to get that back. All right. Yeah, Tesla is not doing what I was hoping it would do right there at that midpoint. So it's probably going to do 100% retracement. Let's blow this up and we'll look at it. Again, it is doing 100% retracement, it looks like. So the 100% retracement would bring it all the way down here. Okay, all the way down here to 244.65. Now, that does not mean that it's not going to go up anymore. Okay, that does not mean that it's not going to go up anymore. But yeah, your whisperer, Dwayne, all that EV stuff that Biden, as soon as he became president, put into place. I have a feeling. We'll see what happens. But none of that stuff has worked out. So we're going sideways here, and sideways here. We have 7 minutes left. And I should have had this at break even, but I stopped out. As I said those horrible words. And I didn't follow the rules. All right, on the Russell, we need a down close from here. If we get a down close and we come out of the overbought, we're going to have a green arrow on that. 58.6 down to 57.8. 57.8. Sometimes my brain just gets really tired. And the math part doesn't work as well as it used to. Okay, so if I hit refresh on this, and what's new in option chain? New chain level filtering. Yeah, let's bring this up for me. Oops, hang on. I believe I had a short going there on the Russell. I did. So I got filled on the short. Did I get filled at the right place? Yeah, I got some slippage on that. We are going to bring our stop to break even appropriately this time. From 0.6, it's got to get down to 0.2 for me to move the stop. I think it already has, hasn't it? No, 0.3. So my stop should still be up there at 0.6. See this number right here at 0.2 is what it's going for. And that's what it's got to get the stop to break even. One more tick, and then my stop. I didn't get the best entry on that. I got some slippage on that one. Almost there. Get down. There it goes. All right, we're not going to make the same mistake as last time. Now, see the numbers opening up down here? That looks like a good target to me. And that would take care of the stop out that I had from the mistake I made over there. Now, I'll look for any other numbers that open up down here as it goes down. But having bigger numbers on the other side of that target number that I have right there is a good thing. Okay. You see the totals down here at the bottom right now? They're not favoring my side, but the larger numbers are. And the charts are suggesting it's going to go down, and the swing low is all the way down here at 56.0. So this is where it should go down to. Okay. That is where it should go down to, all the way down there. I'm going to throw a target all the way down there. Okay, just 2 ticks on this. And it is now 1:27, so we only have a few minutes left in here. Tesla's making pullback right now. It's not much better, but I was going over here to see if those options had changed. Not even at all. And July 12th, was I looking at July 12th, 255s. They are cheaper right now. Okay, let me bring it up and show you. Here, this is doing what we wanted to do. Now, what we anticipate, every time what we anticipate is that it's going to exceed the prior swing low, right? So you see I got my target right there at the prior swing low, and there's some big numbers popping up right there. That's what we anticipate every time. So that makes up for that stop out that I got a few minutes ago. But it should exceed that prior swing low. That's what you anticipate every time, right? Okay, so those options right now that a few minutes ago were priced here. Right there, 585 by 595, the 255s, July 12th, 255 calls. July 12th, 255 calls. They are now priced even better. Let's see if I can bring this over. There they are, 255 calls. They're now 505 by 510. Same option right now, cheaper. Still have no reason to buy it yet, though. If we go over here, we'll go back over here and look at this. Let's blow this up and we'll take a peek. All right, so it went through the 50% retracement. There's still nothing in here saying to buy yet, but this is, if I were to do, these are fib retracement lines here, and this is the 61.8 that you got stuck at. It's a lower swing. There's nothing here saying to buy yet, but those options are still dirt cheap right now. They're cheaper right now. We'll say that. Considerably cheaper. And the last went off at 509, so it was in the spread. If you look at that, the last was right here at 509 in the spread. And if we had a reason to buy right here, if we had a reason to buy, that would be a great option right there. I think it's probably is a pretty good option right there. The 255s right now for $5, 5 to 10. I'll take another picture of it. And maybe if I leave it up there till tomorrow, we can look at it again tomorrow. Right, these 255s right here. Now the 250s are actually I usually like the one that's too out of the money. That usually seems to be the one that reacts the best. So keep our eye on it. Anyway, my time is up, guys. My time is up. If you have not taken a free trial with us and you want to take a free trial with us, go. We got down to the prior swing that we didn't go through it. Actually, we went through it by 1 tick. So if I'd left my order down there at 60, I'm sorry, 56.0, it would have just gotten filled right there. Anyway, we got our 10 ticks back. If you have not taken a free trial with us and you want to, go here to mytradingiq.com, click on the purple button right here. There is no credit card required for the trial. Click on that to take the free trial. What I would recommend, if you're going to do that, you can be sent to this registration page down here at the bottom. Fill it all out down here at the bottom. If you have NinjaTrader, give us your machine ID. If you have TradingView, give us your login ID. If you have NinjaTrader, I would suggest getting TradingView too. All right, because the charts on TradingView are much better. Just a suggestion. And that's it, guys. With that, I can pass it back out to fabulous James, Arizona, in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Dwayne, if you are ready.
I am
Almost ready.
There we go. That should do it. Okay.
There it is. I can see it.
Of the recap of the morning session.
This morning, it took 7 minutes and 2 trades to get to $2,090.
Great job.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. As promised, we'll pick up right where we left off on the Russell. Keep in mind, these are last week's zones because every alert that goes out on Sunday night is based on the previous week's zones. The new zones come out Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern, and I have not put out any new alerts yet today. I may. If so, they will be based on the new zones, of course. And on tomorrow's afternoon broadcast, you will see the new weekly zones on my charts. And remember, once the zones are published Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern, they are carved in stone for the entire week. They don't change in any way whatsoever. Interestingly, the Russell, as you can see, it came down to the zone off the open last night. The zone was 2036/2037. So Sunday night, the zones published last Monday morning were still doing their job. Support will always send the market looking for resistance, which it found at last week's zone, 2067/68. And on the way there, we hit the long target. This is a beautiful move because you had price, the step line, blue and climbing, BBC, lots of separation. Just a beautiful opportunity. Now, this candle, what's the high of the candle? Okay, it sliced through the zone by 2 ticks, but then it retraced to the zone it sliced through and continued in the direction of the slice. As I said earlier, only 3 things happen at a weekly zone. 70% of the time, it's consolidation. 20% of the time, it's rejection, like this. And then 10% of the time, the slice, which I just explained. Now on the Russell, the step line crossed blue and climbing. Okay, we had a very powerful move up. ran into resistance at last week's zone. As we consolidated at the zone, the step line crossed blue and climbing. And whenever the step line crosses blue and climbing or red and falling, that typically means you're going to get a pullback to the 30-minute BBC. Pullback to the BBC, to the tick. Now, when we hit that zone, which we expect to be support until proven otherwise, it gave us the bounce we would expect. However, it ran into the step line, which when the step line gets directly above price, it can become resistance. When it gets directly below price, it can become support. So that resistance sent us down, but buyers are still nibbling. Keep in mind overhead, you've got potential resistance at this high right here, this high right here, and red and falling. If price were to start dropping, you've got a bullish cross down here. Whenever you have a bullish cross that leads to an extended move, the first time price revisits that area, it's almost always good support, at least the first time down. The opposite is true of a bearish cross. Okay. And again, we never had any real reason to attempt to trade to the short target because we never got below the weekly zone, which we expect to be support till proven otherwise, and it was never proven otherwise. The vertical line, of course, separates today, Monday, from Friday. Back here's Thursday, 4th of July. Okay. All right, we've covered 3 of the major indices. We've covered the ES. Now see, the ES is bouncing off the BBC, but it's about to run into red and falling. That is definitely potential resistance. Not that it can't overcome it, but if you're long off this bounce, be very careful when you get to 56.26. 56, yeah, 56.26 quarter, 56.26 half. Now, it's possible that buyers are bullish enough to push us right through the BBC. I'm sorry, red and falling. If they do, then I would wait for price to get above this high, and I would focus on this area right here if you don't have your goal for the day. Something like 56.33 to 56.35. That's a 2-point window of opportunity. Down here, let's see, that bullish cross is at, we'll call it 53. Let's call it 53.15. This means we'd have to get short at 53.17. Okay, that's doable. Or is it? 53.16 to 53. Guys, that one, $56.16 to 56.14. Yeah. Honestly, I like this one better than this one, but they're both viable opportunities. Now, if price gets below this area here, that will support overnight. Then you got to look left. Let yourself get below these lows. In fact, I would go down here and I would go 056.02 down to 55.99. That would be 3 points. And remember, you got potential support here. Once you take out that low right there, if that happens, then from 55.91, you should have a pretty smooth ride down to 55.86. That's a 5-point window of opportunity. All right. We already covered the Dow. Not much has changed. Russell, we did get the pull back to the BBC. We did get the mounts. Now, I wouldn't do anything until either price takes out these highs or gets down into this area here. Okay. All right. NQ, here's where we opened last night. Price always reverts to the mean. In our case, the mean is green. Call it the BBC. There across. And off we go right to the target. And we've been consolidating at the target for hours. Now, if we take this out, if we take this high out that we're trying to right now, there's still upside potential. If price starts to break down, then 25.48 to 25.28, that would be $400 per contract traded. Crude oil. Now, the econ reports last week told us crude going to be going through the roof. Well, it didn't. At least not yet. Okay, so here's where we opened last night. We pulled up to the zone, which we expect to be resistance till proven otherwise. That resistance sent us down to support at the zone, where we bounced up to red and falling. That resistance sent us back to the zone, through the target, to the zone that was published last Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. Still working today. Support bounced us to resistance. Resistance sent us to support. Support sent us to resistance. Resistance sent us to support. Support sent us to resistance. Now the market is seeking support. Now, if you'll notice right here, blue and climbing's turned to red and falling. I think this might be the time that we take out this low. I wouldn't consider going short until that low is taken out. Okay? Once that low's taken out, I'm going to go $82 to 81.85. 82 to 80, from 82 to 81.85. That's $150 per contract traded. If price starts to rally and we take out these highs, then you can trade up to that high right there. And if you get through that high, then you can trade it right on back up to where we opened last night. If we get above that zone from last week, then let price get up to about 83.50. And then you've got a $300 per contract trade potentially up to the target and the previous bearish cross. Gold. We opened last night. Price was trapped. Resistance overhead, support below. Red and falling walked us all the way down to the short target. Support sent us to resistance, which sent us back to the target. That support sent us back to resistance at the BVC, which sent us back to the target, through the target, through the zone, and we got oh so close to this low from Friday, which was a bit of an aberration. Okay, it was see how it's at 8:30, so there was some econ news on Friday that made this happen. So buyers stepped in a little bit early before we got all the way to the low. Buyers came in early, pushed us back up to basically the zone, close to it, and you got red and falling overhead, which is potential resistance. I would suggest letting price get down to about 23.55. And then, of course, if you're a member or a trial member, you've got this week's zones. I'm still looking at last week's zones. But as you can see, they're still doing their job. That's typically the case on a Sunday night and a Monday. The previous week's zones hold sway over the market till, mid-session, towards end of session on Monday. And then by Tuesday, typically the new zones have completely taken over. And every now and then you'll have zones that carry over from week to week. Last week we had one carryover zone on the ES, one carryover zone on the Russell, one carryover zone on the Dow, and one carryover zone on crude. Okay. Let's go to silver. We opened, price was trapped, okay, we dropped to support, and it bounced us up to this high from Friday, and then quickly reversed, got us back below the zone, got us below the BBC. We put in a nice leg. Now, we didn't get all the way to the target on this move, but you only need 2 pennies. When the price of silver moves 2 pennies, that's worth $100 per contract traded. Goal for the day. Now the high of the session is 31.60. The low is basically 30.70. So if we were to drop to 30.60, then that would be from the high to 30.60. That would be, actually that high is 67. So if we drop to 67 right here, okay, we can't, look how close we came. It's $5,000 per contract traded. Now, staying in this big of a trade, you got all this profit. It's real hard to stay in that trade to the pullback. But look where it pulled back to. It pulled back to the zone, to the tick. And when price moves up to a zone, we expect resistance, even when it gets spiked. Does it happen 100% of the time? No. More often than not, yes. So this resistance sent us looking for support. This support, if you ignore this aberration from the news on Friday, what does that low line up with? Bullish cross. Euro. We opened last night. We gapped lower down to the zone. The zone held. Sent us up, but we didn't close the gap. Then we dropped back to the zone. The zone held. Support sent us to resistance at the target. Resistance sent us to support at the BBC, which sent us to resistance at the target, which sent us to support at the BBC. But now we're slightly below the BBC and we got red and falling overhead. But keep in mind, you do have potential support here, 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 and then here. I would just probably be looking for something else to trade unless the euro took off to the upside or dropped below this low, and then I would trade it down potentially to the short target. Okay. So the ES daily, we're still off the high of the day, but buyers haven't given up. Okay, we still got a green candle. Is it possible we put in another new high today? If so, I will post a chart in the discussion group. And remember, when you're on the trial, you're able to talk with our traders and ask them questions. Most places don't allow, new people and members to mix and mingle, but we encourage it. Because we want you to hear it from them, not us. That we really do work very hard to help you succeed to the very best of our ability. We don't have crystal balls. We don't know what's going to happen next. But we do know what the next high probability move is. Always. Unless the market's consolidating sideways, and then we just leave that alone. I mentioned that in the Logic 247 channel, there's over 17,000 alerts. Every one of them is a trend trade as defined by the 30-minute chart, price, and the 30-minute BBC. Nothing wrong with counter trend trading, except it doesn't have the same high probability, low risk characteristics of a trend trade. So when I work with new traders, first I want you to master trading with the trend. And once you've mastered that, then if you want to pursue counter trend trading, it's your trading business, and I'll be of whatever service I can be. Okay? All right. To become a member, go to mytradingiq.com. If you have questions, call 949-42-EMINI or send an email to support@cfrn.net. 9 out of 10 new traders fail because they don't have a teacher to teach them how to do the job. Now, becoming a member doesn't guarantee you're going to be the 1 out of 10, because no matter how much information we give you and training and everything else, we don't know what you're going to do with the knowledge and the tools. And we have no control over that. Okay? But here's what I do know. The 9 out of 10 buy books, courses, they join rooms with grumpy gurus, they watch cherry-picked videos on YouTube, and it all looks so simple. So why do they fail? Because while all of those things are okay, they don't replace a living, breathing teacher, putting on, taking off trades live in real time, explaining every move they make, every trade they take, and the reason behind it, while answering your questions at the same time, while you at the same time are trading in your demo account, trying to qualify to go live. Our 24/20 blueprint tells you you need to put together 10 consecutive days in a row where you reach your goal in 10 trades or less, before you even think about going live. When you go live, that first contract you put on, that's funded with money you opened your account with. But once you go live, you now have a new goal to increase your account balance by $2,000. When you do that, the blueprint's going to give you the green light to add a second contract. The beauty of that second contract is it's funded with profit you earned in the market. First contract is funded with your startup capital. Second contract is funded with profit you earned in the market. You only add one contract at a time when the blueprint says it's time, and you only add with profit you earned in the market. If you have the discipline to follow the blueprint as it's laid out and write your business plan and your trading plan as the 24/20 blueprint teaches you, you'll be heads and shoulders above the 9 out of 10 that fail, and you will actually have a fighting chance at becoming the 1 out of 10. Now, along with 2 hours of live training every day in an interactive environment, you have access to one-on-one private mentoring. The strategy you learn is fluid across all markets and all time frames. Futures, stocks, crypto, Forex, ETF. Doesn't matter because price flows the same across all markets and all time frames. From support to resistance, back to support, back to resistance, over and over, again and again. It's a never-ending cycle. The indicators that you own as a passport holder also are fluid across all markets and all time frames. As a passport holder, you'll enjoy the Logic 247 alerts, the concierge trade alerts, the weekly trading zones, and you'll be able to attend the members only workshop every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Also, when you become a member, you'll get the key, the golden key that opens the private channels in Telegram. You see, we have this members only workshop every Thursday night. We record them and we put them in the vault in Telegram. When you become a member, you'll not only be able to attend the workshop every Thursday night, but if you choose, you can go back and watch years of previous workshops. Do you have to or even need to? Not really. Just show up in the room, ask lots of questions, and when you need help, ask. Whatever it is. Last but not least, you've got around-the-clock support via Telegram. It truly is everything a trader needs, all under one roof, one low price. mytradingiq.com. Well, let's wrap it up with our good word for the day. Now, last week we were talking about steps to forgiveness for a couple days. Today we're going to talk about the joys of heaven. Philippians 3:20 says, "For our citizenship is in heaven." The story is told of a pastor who asked his congregation, "How many of you want to go to heaven?" Everyone raised their hand except one little boy. The pastor said, "Son, don't you want to go to heaven?" He replied, "Yes, but I thought you were getting up a batch to go right now." Let's be honest. We don't think or talk much about heaven until a loved one dies and goes, and we grow old and feel like we've fulfilled our assignment here on earth. Then we feel a tug pulling us heavenward, and we should. On average, we spend about 70 or 80 years here, whereas we will spend eternity there. 1 Thessalonians 4:17 says, "We shall always be with the Lord." Here on earth, we get a mixed scorecard. Sometimes we do well, other times not so well. But in heaven, we will be just like Jesus. For our citizenship is in heaven, from which we also eagerly wait for a Savior who will transform the body of our lowly condition into conformity with His glorious body. Philippians 3:20. C.S. Lewis wrote that in heaven, each of us will be a dazzling, radiant, immortal creature, pulsating all through with such energy and joy and wisdom and love as we cannot now imagine. All the patriarchs, prophets, and preachers in the Bible longed for heaven. Zechariah describes it in these words, "For they shall be like the jewels of a crown, lifted like a banner over his land. For how great is its goodness, and how great its beauty." That's Zechariah 9:16. Friend, if you were to die today, would you go to heaven? You can, by putting your trust in Jesus Christ. That's our good word for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy, with His grace, and I'll see you at the bell. Oh, bell. Ha ha.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading E-mini futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.